Hey everyone, this is to all the welfare queens and that think they're queens, but yeah, this is how we stop the welfare abuse, because the good people of the United States are sick of it. They're sick of you freeloaders, good for nothings, because you're just a waste of flesh. And you're just parasites. I don't even want to compare you to animals because you're worse than that. Animals have a function. Animals are beautiful. You people are just virus, parasitic creatures that should have probably never been born. Anyways, the way I would solve the problem of all you fraudulent little idiots, low IQ, waste of breath, is mandatory drug testing randomly. If you're caught on drugs, you get nothing. No smoking. Nothing that is a luxury or anything that you can live without. You will live in barracks, just like the military. If it's good enough for the military, it's damn well good enough for you. You will get fed what you're given, and you will have no choice in the matter. And it will be all healthy items. No chips, no soda. That way we can cut back on all your, medical bills and everything like that for all you obese, just whales. Whales, land whales. That's what you are. And it would be mandatory birth control also. No children. No children while you are on the system. If you can't feed them, you're not going to breed them. And you're so lucky I am not in charge of this, because it would be like the military. And mandatory community service. You would wait on everybody else hand and foot. Whatever needs to be done in the community that is, a direct function of society, you're going to be of some use. And then that way, poverty will be a thing of the past, pretty much. I mean, there'll still be some people in poverty, but they're going to be the hardworking people that just fall on hard times or whatever. But it isn't going to be this generational, just sponging off of everybody else that's working and that have worked and are, good for society, unlike you. So yeah, you're just parasites. And I think parasites might even be better than what you are. Because the way you're going on and on and on about how you're going to rob people, you're going to kill people, you're going to, cannibalize white crackers. And if I could say the words that I want to say on these platforms, I would. But then I'll get banned and then I can't voice my opinion. But you people need to get a life. You need to get an IQ, which will never happen. And it's been generational. And the more you breed and breed, the less IQ you have. Because it's just bad IQ, breeding with bad IQ. And it just gets worse and worse as it goes on. So, yeah. You would not like the system that I have in mind. Not at all. So, everybody that's a decent person on the system, more power to you, really. And I feel for you. But most of you, you don't need it. And I know this for a fact because I have family members and neighbors that are on the system, and they do not need it at all. They're just leeches. Just pure leeches. So get a life, people. Get your shit under control. And stop feeding off of the rest of us, and our hard work.
Hello. So if something really screams ignorance for me, then it's this video, this particular lady that I have just played at the beginning of this particular video. Now, so this white woman has recently come under fire for claiming that black people are the biggest exploiters of welfare benefits. And, we know that is not the truth. But that stems from her own personal ignorance. Now the thing is, this kind of statement is not particularly very new. This is something we've been hearing from time to time again and again. People associating welfare with black people in America. But what is very interesting for me here is that this kind of thinking doesn't really stem from hate, as many people would actually think. It's actually from ignorance, someone who doesn't know any better. This is actually a lot of ignorance being displayed. And that's what I want us to break down today in this video. The ignorance of poor white Americans, because mostly those that really are so ignorant are the poor white Americans who have been actually made to believe that black people are the problem, when in reality, black people are just victims, just the same way they, white, poor black folks, are the victims. The only difference is that at least black people know the truth. They know the real exploiters of the system. So I want us to go ahead and listen to some of the reactions of Americans to this particular video, and we'll be back with good commentary. If it is your first time across this channel, welcome to the channel. If you're an old member, thank you for your continued support. Let's watch, and we'll be back with a good commentary.
Let's go ahead and wrap this shit up, shall we? This is the second and final part, honey, of Little Miss Charlie's Avengers over here. To catch everyone up to speed, Little Miss Charlie's Avengers, aka Susan, believes that everyone on government assistance are parasites. They're less than human. She thinks we need to bring back a form of slavery for them, put them in concentration camps. When I tell y'all Little Miss Susan, honey, was in straight panic mode yesterday, she must have commented to me about 40 or 50 times, tried to follow me like 5 or 6 times, like, oh, why are you following me? Then she tried to threaten me with I can do some investigating too. Sweetie, let me help you out. 3-time convicted felon over here, former addict. Turned my life around, honey, did a complete 180, and now I spend my life servicing my community and calling out hateful bitches like you. All one need do, honey, is scroll my videos, as you did, to see that I stand in my truth. Something hateful, venomous maggots like you know absolutely nothing about. Are we good now? Are we all caught up? Good. Now let's focus back on you. So Little Miss Charlie's Avengers tried to say that I had the wrong person. We're not going to do that, Susan. Because see, when you look someone up the way that I did, it's going to show all of your neighbors' names, it's going to show your acquaintances' names, and it's going to show family members' names. And when I go to your Facebook, boom, there's one. So I proceed to look up the rest of those names, and lo and behold, there they all are. Furthermore, sweetie, if it weren't you, you wouldn't have tried to do damage control here. Oh, and by the way, just because you removed the video from your page doesn't mean it no longer exists. Moving right along, I'm sure it'll come as no big surprise to anyone that Susan is also a racist, although she'll tell you she's not because in her words, they are good black. But if you're not racist, Susan, why were you liking all of the racist comments and laughing at them and using racist tropes and dog whistles as you did here? And of course, true to form, like all hateful, venomous maggots do, Susan decided to toss in a lie to back up her bullshit. Susan said that before her dad passed, he tried to go and get welfare, but they told him that he was the wrong color. And when someone asked her, oh, what's the right color? Susan said that they told him he wasn't black. Susan, welfare was created for white people. Pumpkin, there are more white people collecting welfare and government assistance than all races combined. Then Susan went on to say 2 things that I'm going to connect here for you. Susan said she hates drug addicts and they should not receive welfare. Susan also stated that she absolutely despises criminals, which is quite odd, Susan, because when I look at who owns your house, there's a gentleman by the name of Michael. Now, I'm not going to drop his last name because he only has something to do with this by proxy. But correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Michael a bit of a felon himself? Had a little problem with that booger sugar, did he? And he resides in that home, am I correct? Must kill you to live in such proximity to a criminal, an addict. Then Susan went on to say that quite a few of her family members are abusing the welfare system. Oh, how you must hate them. Susan, let's be very clear here. You are not part of the elite. You didn't know what money was until you married a dentist. Speaking of which, now I'm not sure which of these 2 it is, but I think we should find out. Susan also stated that she has businesses online. I see that you have a connection with Globetrotter Properties. I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's worth looking into. I also see that you have some sort of travel thing going. Sue at Anderson Travel. If anyone knows how to look into LLCs, please let me know. Susan, I don't know what happened to you in your life to make you such a hateful person, but here's hoping you have the absolute day that you deserve.
Miss, you are disgusting. Seriously. Yes, there might be a little bit of abuse in that system, but majority of these people in your state need this. What about your parents or somebody in your family that's in a nursing home? That's how they get fed. They get fed through the SNAP benefits. So you're affecting them as well. Maybe if these corporations paid a living wage, we wouldn't be going through this. It's there just to help you get back on your feet, because you never know when you might need this. Because never say never, miss. I'm sure you've been on it before.
Well, a friend alerted me to this specimen tonight, and I'm deeply troubled by what this person would say. And the facts are simple. 70% of welfare recipients, or SNAP recipients, are children, the disabled, the elderly. Of the people that are not, 86% of them work. They can't find a job that will get them out of above the 140th percent, don't quote me on that, poverty level. So they get food from us. And it costs me like $16 a year to pay for their food out of my pocket. And what truly bothers me is that pieces of people like this lady think they are better than children, than the elderly. And they go on this tirade. And what's worse is this thing probably thinks she's a Christian. Yet she's never read the Bible. And she spits in Jesus' face by saying things like this. The problem here is that people like her exist. They preach their hate, their filth, their misinformation. And they feel like they're better than children, that she's happily starving. Children, our grandparents, are disabled, and she's happy. She wants them to work because they get like $180 a month. And people like her are glad to destroy the American dream. They're glad to embrace the corruption that is prevalent in our society at this point. This is what is wrong with America. She would rather consume misinformation and project her hatred on her fellow Americans in order to pacify the oligarchy that has gripped our country by the throat. This is why we need to fight back. This is why we need to resist. And she is exemplary of what we need to resist against. This has to stop.
You need to watch that whole video because it is far worse than what you just witnessed. And if you follow me, you know what comes next. I did a little digging, but because I like to be 100% sure that I found the right person, I simply asked her. And she was kind enough to confirm making this video. As you can see down here below, Susan seems to think she's being doxxed. So she's trying to rally the troops. Help me get her back. Susan, sweetie, I'm going to need you to look up the definition of doxing. Doxing would entail me releasing your personal information, such as your phone number, your address, your neighbors' names, all of your family members' names, the picture of your house, all of which I have in my possession. And if I were to release any of that information, that, my dear, would be doxing. But public information, that is a horse of a completely different color. Hello, Susan Wendelken. Now, I noticed on your LinkedIn, it says you're a dental office manager for a Dr. Anderson. And from your many, many aliases, I was able to determine that you're married to someone with the last name of Anderson. Why would one person need so many aliases, Susan? We'll get into that later if I need to. See, by you working in a dental office, that concerned me greatly. Because if you're online spewing this kind of hateful venom, how are you treating the patient? And judging by the reviews, there seems to be one common denominator. And well, that's you, Susan. They've all come to the conclusion that you are rude and disrespectful. Judging by the behavior that you're exhibiting online, I'm going to have to agree with them, Susan. But what concerns me even more is the fact that that dentist accepts Medicaid and Medicare. And as everyone knows, most people that get Medicaid and Medicare are also on welfare. So it concerns me greatly, Susan. How are you treating those people when you find out that they're receiving Medicaid and Medicare? So I think we should find out. Now, I also found emails linking you to Globetrotter Property. Because it's Saturday, I can't find out just yet how you're affiliated with them.
These people will literally run smack dab face first into the point and not even realize it. They have no idea what hit them. You understand that the reason it's generational is because if your parents don't have a pot to piss in, they can't give you a head start in life. They can't, like my parents did, say, stay home until you get married, save up your money so you can buy a place and never have to pay rent. Okay, like my parents who came here from Portugal, and yes, they worked their asses off and they bought properties. They gave me a leg up because guess what? They had the money to send me to college. They had the money to send me to private school. They had the money to send me to special summer camps and to like help me get started and give me money when I needed it. Not everybody had that. So my generational thing was somebody set me up to succeed, and now I'm doing the same for my children. These people can't do that for their children, and then people end up in poverty generation to generation. Hello?
Welfare abuse, really? Because I have a video of 40 white people that were arrested in a welfare fraud scheme. So I don't really know. I know you're talking to black people, so I just want to put that out there. And secondly, if we're working on stereotypes, how are we going to stop you from fucking your brother and having your father's children and letting your husband marry your daughter? See, stereotypes aren't nice and they aren't sweet. Now, you want to run around talking about welfare queens. Are you one? I'd like you to go outside and find one and save this little nonsense to her. But yeah, incestuous hillbilly, two can play that game.
What nerve did you hit, sweetheart? See, I don't receive SNAP benefits. And the crazy part is most of you racists think that it's black folks that's being affected by the SNAP benefits being shut down. But that's not true, love life. It's your own color. It's white people that's suffering the most. They're the ones calling down to the welfare offices, crying about their SNAP benefits. See, I know you saying, oh my God, I struck a nerve. It's a black lady and she's responding to my video. She must be a welfare queen. No, baby, I'm not a welfare queen. And you should do better, sweetheart.
Do you know what some fucked up shit is? Is Tartar Sauce Tammy over here is mad because at maybe one point in time she got SNAP benefits and she doesn't get them anymore. The fact that other people, especially minority groups that are seeking help, she's pissed as fuck. And then she wants to talk about people who do not receive, let me say it again, do not receive SNAP benefits, Tartar Sauce Tammy, and claims that they do with no support to back her claim. Because you know Trump supporters, they're always in their fucking feelings. Because Cottage Cheese Kathy can't help the fact that people of color also benefit. And we know she was attacking the black community especially. But what she failed to realize is this right here was not directed towards black people, because I went to that page and that is a black person talking about you, Bleach Demon. You do know that you are an accident. Thing God made. That you're only 8,000 years old and you are dying. You are a fucking dying race. Because God came back for just a moment and said, oh, my fucked up shit's here. I'll let the children deal with the children. Bitch, come get your daughter. Because we're sick and tired of telling you white supremacists that you are fucking dumb. We're sick and tired of telling you, you white supremacists over here, that you are an uneducated fool. This symbol indicates you are related to monkeys, chimpanzees, and apes, not us. We're almost 300,000 years old, and your bitch asses have been related to these things forever. So Sour Cream Cassie, I really need you to get your shit together and do some more research and not me search. And leave Black, Brown, and Indigenous people alone. And if somebody from another country comes here and wants to get state benefits, give them the fucking benefits. Because we know you're not a Christian. You will never be and never will. And trust me, honey, when you go meet the maker, your sky daddy, I just want to remind you that you will never see the light of heaven. Amen. But you will see the depths of hell. Enjoy the fucking ride while it's here. Because there is no amount of sorries for you opening your mouth, because God said that's a loose tongue. Will you ever get our forgiveness? So not only take your wreath of a family, because you don't have a fucking tree, but your lice-ridden self, and find a cliff and jump off it. Because at some point, your demise is coming closer every day.
This is a good time to let y'all know what propaganda I am not falling for. I'm not about to sit here and let them make y'all think that welfare and government assistance is overwhelmingly received by Black people. If anything, Black and brown people didn't even have access, could not even have access to welfare and government assistance from the very beginning. So I'm not about to sit here and watch all of this conversations about government shutdown and welfare be circulated around the bodies of Black people. Do the research. White women very much receive welfare and government assistance over Black and brown folks. May some other numbers and populations be coming up? Yes. Because it is vast. We are needing it. But honey, I am not about to sit here and let y'all be told and make y'all think that Black people, welfare queens, are the only people out here getting assistance and abusing it.
You ever notice how the same people who benefited from public assistance are the same ones who act like welfare is some sort of moral failure? Yeah, let's talk about the presidents who cashed in and then closed the door behind them. Ronald Reagan, he literally made a boogeyman out of the welfare queen. And we all know who that caricature was supposed to represent, Black single mothers. But did you know that Reagan's own family benefited from the New Deal food relief programs? The ones that they had during the Great Depression. Yep, government food aid kept them afloat. But when he got into power, he slashed food stamps, gutted social programs, and pushed the racist myth that Black people were the ones that were freeloading rich. Bill Clinton. Clinton's family struggled. His stepfather was his household was unstable. They relied on federal loans and local support to get by. And once Bill made it into office, he signed the 1996 Welfare Reform Bill. You know the one that decimated the support for millions of families, mostly Black and brown, of course. We're the target. We're always the target. He claimed that it would end dependency. All it really did was make survival harder for working class women and children. Dwight Eisenhower, he grew up poor. His family lived on land grants and public resources. His schooling, his military career, even the GI Bill helped him rise. But in office, he warned against expanding social programs. He often stalled on civil rights protections that would have granted Black veterans the same rights to the GI Bill that he had access to. Donald Trump. Let's be real, Trump was propped up by taxpayer money in more ways than one. His family's fortune, inflated by government housing contracts and FHA subsidies that his father exploited. And now, he's been anti-welfare, anti-SNAP, anti-anything that supports the poor, while racking up millions in government payouts for his businesses. Even George W. Bush. The Bush family empire was built off of oil subsidies, tax loopholes, and government connections. But his administration pushed work requirements for welfare recipients and reduced access to housing assistance, all while his cronies cashed checks off of FEMA contracts and post-war reconstruction scams. So the real welfare kings, they wear suits, they pass budgets, they sign bills. And when it's their families, their farms, their companies, it's called a subsidy. But when it's your grandmother trying to get groceries, all of a sudden it's a national crisis. Welfare isn't the problem, the double standard is. And the Oval Office, it's had a front row seat to the hypocrisy for generations.
You are absolutely right. Black people were paying taxes for food stamps that they didn't fucking qualify for in 1939. In 1939, they were federally funded. So that means the federal taxes by Americans was paying for that shit. Almost knocked that over. Black Americans were paying through income tax, sales tax, and other forms of taxation, even though most of them were excluded from receiving any of those goddamn benefits. Franklin D. Roosevelt made the New Deal with farmers and the surplus of food that they had on hand. And this gave farmers the ability to sell their surplus and help feed the hungry. I'm sorry, white folks. This allowed white folks to get orange stamps for food and blue stamps for surplus food for free. Now, the program was administered through local government and often by county offices. And in the Jim Crow South, baby, you ain't getting shit. Local offices routinely denied black folks of any help or gave them little to no amount. At that time, we didn't have our civil rights, so no one could fight against the discrimination of food aid. So while black people helped fund food stamps, white people got to eat off of our backs. Something that has been happening since the beginning of this fucking country. White folks love to call black people ghetto and tell us to change our culture. Yes, that shit came from a congressman, but don't realize they kept eating off of us from the beginning. So for all you white folks that sit there and talk shit about black people and being on food stamps and any type of services that the government funds for people in need, baby, y'all are the first broke bitches in this country.
All right, welcome back. And you have had, the thoughts of Americans towards the same. And I wanted us to break down into, some segments. And the first segment is that the facts don't lie. So we talk about a little bit about facts and numbers. So we start with some cold, hard facts, and that the majority of welfare recipients in America are white people. Stats show it that. Not black, in fact, not Hispanic, but white people. Every credible report from the US Department of Health and Human Services to the Census Bureau show that white Americans make up the largest share of people receiving welfare benefits, okay? But there are many people who actually have no idea of these facts. And actually, it happens that those people are the ones that are beneficiaries of the same, benefits. And that actually makes sense because when you think about it, the white people make up a majority of America's population. So naturally, they'd also make up the majority of welfare recipients. It's not rocket science. It's very basic, logic right there. But somehow the narrative has actually been twisted, like welfare gets racialized and it's always shown with a black face on the screen, a single mother with many kids, as if she's the symbol of government dependency. It's a way of using the media to twist the narrative and to push propaganda. That's not accident. What they show you on the media when they talk about welfare, they suddenly want to show a black face. It's not an accident. It's actually a way of instigating or pushing propaganda. Now, this system is actually built, like welfare is built for white people. That's another cold, hard truth. Historically, welfare wasn't designed for black people. We can prove that very much so. When social safety programs were first introduced in the late 1930s in America, and Franklin Roosevelt, most black people would not even qualify for these benefits. Programs like Social Security and unemployment insurance excluded agricultural and domestic workers, which were jobs that were overwhelmingly done by black people at that time. Back in the 1930s. So while black people were actually even paying taxes into the system, they could not even benefit from it. So it simply tells you who was meant to actually benefit from it. It wasn't, so, I mean, in other words, what we're trying to say here is welfare was literally created to protect poor white families during hard times. Okay. And it wasn't until much, much, much later, after the civil rights movement, that, you know, welfare actually now became a little bit more inclusive. And I'm saying a little bit more inclusive because even to date, even as we talk, the there's been some studies showing how much there's a difference in the poor people, poor white people, how much they make or they get from welfare compared to black beneficiaries of the same. So, and only then, you know, it's suddenly when now black people came into the ship that had white people initially, that they started to call it handouts actually. And there's something about it being called now handouts at that point in time, because when white conservatives began framing, uh, it was at this time that they started to try and now push the propaganda to make it look like it is a black issue, you know. So you notice the pattern. When it was benefiting white folks alone, it was called support. But when black people started qualifying for it, or they fought to benefit basically from what they pay for in their taxes, now they suddenly changed the name to dependency, or call it handouts. Okay. Now, we also want to talk about poor white folks who actually don't actually see the real problem, the real exploiters. Now, this is where ignorance really comes in. When I said this screams ignorance. So now, here's where the ignorance part really comes in. Yeah. Poor white people have been made to believe that black people are the ones abusing the system. The system that they have not even, the system has been all of this time built against black people. How are they exploiting a system that they didn't even design, that is actually designed against them? But these poor white folks never even stop to ask who are the real exploiters of welfare. It can't be the people who the system is already stacked against them that are the exploiters of it, because it's not actually the single mom just getting about $300 a month in food stamps. It's the rich white elites. It's their own kind. You know, the corporations and billionaires who get massive tax cuts and subsidies and bailouts from the government, so on and so forth. That's welfare too. It's just dressed up in a fancier name, you know, in fancier names, because it's them. So these are the people who crash the economy, and then they get rescued by, of course, the taxpayers' money. While the same politicians, they turn around and tell poor white voters, you know, that lazy black people are the ones that are, you know, freeloaders. They're the ones that are draining the system. So this is basically what we would call psychological manipulation. They have convinced poor white Americans to punch down instead of looking up, to hate their fellow poor people, instead of questioning the rich who basically keep all of the struggling people, fighting, or basically keep all the poor people struggling, so here comes in the point of divide and distract, and this is the oldest trick that is in the American playbook. Divide, distract. Keep them divided so they are distracted. So this is to keep poor white poor white folks and black people fighting each other, so they never really realize that they're both actually being played by the same system. And now they should not get a chance to even ask the questions that matter. So the elite class depend on this particular racial divide. And the politicians, they actually weaponize this, because if poor white people and black folks never unite and recognize this, that they share the same economic struggles, then the foundation of the exploitation would never actually be questioned. If they don't recognize, if they actually ever unite and realize that they share the struggle, then that unity would actually shake the very foundation of the American power structure. So instead, they're usually told your enemy is the black person that's exploiting welfare. When in truth, the real enemy is the billionaire that's using their taxes to fund corporate welfare and avoid paying his fair share. Now, it reminds me that a few weeks, some few weeks ago, Mamdani was talking about how he was going to actually, increase taxes for the rich in New York when, he takes office. And Donald Trump was not happy. What has Donald Trump been basically saying about Mamdani and New York? He wasn't happy with the fact that Mamdani was now going to change, to upset the status quo and make the rich pay more because, of course, they are the biggest welfare exploiters. Now, when this particular white woman at the beginning of this video says that black people are the exploiters of welfare, she is actually not exposing anything with black people. She is actually exposing her own ignorance and how she has failed to notice what is happening in his country, in this world. She's repeating a lie that has been spoon-fed, to generations of poor white Americans for so long. A lie designed to actually divide, distract, and keep people blind to who really is benefiting from welfare, who really is exploiting the system. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's not about race, actually. It's about class and manipulation. Most importantly, well, race is what you see on the surface. It's actually about money. Even rich white folks don't care about poor white folks. And until more people wake up to that truth, the same lie will keep, running the same game. And this is generation after generation after generation. Yeah. So we've come to the end of this video. That's my thought, my 2 cents about this lady. Yeah. And I don't know what you think about it. You can go ahead and share with me your thoughts and your opinion in the comment section below. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and share it. And if you like what we do in this channel, then go ahead and subscribe to this video. And if you're new to the channel, also welcome to the channel and subscribe and become part of us. So until next time, I'll see you in the next video.